I'm Ed Farrar from Raw 1251am. Tonight I'm joined by Matty VANT, the frontman of VANT, before that gig at the O2 Institute in Birmingham. Thank you very much for joining me, Matty.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Thanks for
It's a pleasure to have you on. Firstly, people have been asking me about this from the instant they knew I had an interview, and I've had to ask, why are all your song titles in bold? This is what everyone's been asking me.
It's just as if they're newspaper headlines, basically.
Yeah, fair enough.
Simple as that.
Yeah, okay. Your first album, Dumb Blood, was released in February 2017. That was last month. It's had some really great reviews, singles Peace and Love and Do You Know Me doing so well. How much of a rush is that for you?
It's been great. It's obviously nice to finally get a full piece of work out into the world and see people's reaction to it. And particularly, we've seen that in the live shows that we've done on this tour. It's definitely grown in size and also reaction to all of the songs that we play now that people have had an album to live with. So yeah, it's been amazing on all fronts, really. Just can't wait to keep touring it and playing to more people.
Of course, you're on a tour at the moment. You've got dates coming up in the Electric Ballroom in London the 9th of March. You're doing Truck Fest in the summer. What's really exciting for me, though, is you're playing a gig with Primal Scream in Hull at the 23rd of June. How big is it to play with a band like that?
I mean, it's obviously quite surreal. They're obviously a legendary act, but I don't know, it's kind of strange when you're a musician, you're kind of already on the same level as your peers in terms of the reasons why you do it, and obviously sharing that love of music. And most bands we've had the chance of playing with, we've got on really well as just as people, so I guess it's kind of not as crazy as it seems, once you're actually out there and gigging. It's just another gig, but I think that one will be particularly special.
Absolutely. Is Primal Scream one of those bands you've kind of got some sort of influence from when you write your songs and you work out your sound? No, who are your influences then? Generally, would you say?
I'm sort of way more influenced by documentaries and comedians and newspapers and just things that are going on in the world. I think you kind of have to look back to bands like The Clash or Fugazi in the 70s and the 80s to see true messages coming through rock music. But those sort of lyricists and people like Neil Young and Bob Dylan, and more recently MIA and PJ Harvey, and those kind of artists are way more influential to me than any specific sound. I think you kind of can't set out to make a band that sounds like something else. You kind of just have to do what comes naturally to you.
Is that also a reason, though, with The Clash, that your music's so political? Do you find it important to kind of put forward your political anguish almost in your lyrics?
Yeah, I feel like it's my duty as an artist, really. I think you should comment on the events that are happening in the time that you're alive, and whether that's through music or whether it's through art or cinema or whatever your discipline is. I think it's of vital importance that you are aware of everything that's going on and try and soundtrack it in some way. And I think that was the mission statement of the band when we started. I think too many people hide.
Absolutely. I found something when you're looking that you refer as your origins as a band, not to Britain or anything, but as Planet Earth. I found that really interesting. I mean, what's the kind of story behind that?
I don't really see borders. I think, at some point during time, someone has raped and pillaged a nation to call it that and name it after something related to themselves or whatever it is. It's kind of just an old-fashioned hat way of looking at things, and I think they really have begun to divide us again, where it felt like we were pushing for a greater level of equality and a more unified planet. Things like Brexit and Donald Trump and everything that's come since he's been in power are moving us away from the quality that we've been striving for a long time now. And I think that starts with national identity, and I think patriotism is one of the lowest forms of humanity, and we shouldn't be celebrating the naivety of oneself, and we should be opening ourselves to the world as well, and equally accepting the rest of the world and offering them refuge in their time of need. I think it's very sad that we kind of find ourselves in the state that we do. So for us, I can't find it impossible to tie myself to the nation that I was born in, because I don't see it as being any different from anywhere else in the world.
So you find it quite important then. Is this something we can expect from VANT in the future, to kind of rail against the Donald Trump and Brexit and all the things that are dividing the world? Is that something we're going to see in your later releases coming maybe in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously been talking about these themes for our entire career so far, and continue to be active on social media and in the real world, at shows and at protests and everything. I think you have to use your voice in the real world and not just online as well. And the great thing about music is once you've written and recorded an album, it exists forever, so your opinion is documented and it's accessible to people and it can't be manipulated in any way. So we'll definitely continue to write political music and use our voices when we can. I think it's of vital importance that everyone does it as much as they can in their own lives, regardless of what it is that they choose to do with their lives.
Absolutely. So you, of course, of your Twitter account, all of the tweets are from yourself. They're from Matty Vant. Is that something you find important, that's very realistic, what you're putting across to your fans, that it's you and it's your voice?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I have a lot of discrepancies with social media, it is a great way of staying in touch with your fan base, and obviously as well contacting people that you may never get a chance to speak to in the real world. So I think having that accessibility is can be a great tool as a musician, and I think I would feel uncomfortable if someone else was, tweeting on my behalf or whatever. So I think as much as there's an element of humour in some of our tweets, there's obviously some of it that is important and cares about everything that's going on in the world, and I think it's a good representation of our voices online.
Absolutely. Of course, talking about ways you can get in touch with the fans, radio has been quite big in kind of the building of your brand name. Annie Max has had Karma, Secret, Peace and Love as one of the hottest tracks in the world, and in 2016 you're part of the BBC Radio 1 Future Festival. How big is radio as a platform to get your message across, get your music across?
It's been great for us. I mean, we've had a lot of amazing opportunities through the BBC. And it's still, the most listened to radio station in the world, so you can't argue with its power and its ability to break artists, and we certainly wouldn't be where we are now without that institution. I think it's, as much as Spotify and other streaming services are taking over in a lot of senses, and there's a lot of playlists on there which are, I think it kind of exists in a quite a compatible way. I don't think either thing it doesn't necessarily have to be one or another. I think they can co-inhabit this planet quite comfortably. So it just opens the door for artists to have even more areas of exposure, I guess. So yeah, I mean, radio's been massive for us.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. Do You Know Me? Your single did so well on all stations across the country. It also did brilliant on the Raw chart. I mean, for releasing singles, do you think it's important to put out a song that's really representative of your bands? I know a lot of bands these days just put out something that's almost radio fodder. Do you think it's important when you're releasing singles to try and promote yourself to play something that's very VANT, it's very you?
Yeah, I mean, that's our entire ethic. I think if we were releasing something that wasn't us, we wouldn't be VANT. It's like, I tried that when I was younger. I tried writing music that I felt was deemed to be in vogue at that time, and it just wasn't me, and it was something I was never comfortable with. So I think people see through it eventually. I think to sustain a career, you have to be honest to yourself first and foremost, and honest to your audience. People can start to see cracks when something's not right and something's not real. So for us, we would only ever release songs that are true to us as a band, regardless of what that genre is.
Is that something you'd say as advice to young musicians, is that you should stay true to their voice to make sure they battle through in such a competitive industry at the moment?
Definitely, I think you need to write what comes from the heart. Apart from anything, by the time if you did just copy off of fad or whatever, by the time you got anywhere near building yourself to the point where you might be recognised by a record label or whatever, that trend will have moved on. Whereas if you're doing something unique and something that's true and real to yourself, then that's way more powerful than any passing trend. And I think you have to write from that honest place. Otherwise, if you don't believe yourself, then no one else will believe you either. And I think that's kind of the crux of everything, is belief.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, talk about your unique music and the fact that maybe social media isn't the best way to get across. Do you think then that performing live places like Truckfest, you're playing at Hull with Primal Scream, playing at the Electric Ballroom on the 9th of March, do you think it's important for you as a band live to try and reach new people and really showcase yourself? And how important is playing live to that?
Well, it's the only way bands can make money anymore, for a start. So it's that aspect to it. But also, I mean, that's what we live for. I think as much as we enjoy recording and writing, the live world is where we've always thrived, and that connection with an audience is unlike anything else. And physically being in the same room as people that enjoy what you're doing and what you stand for is massively important, and something that we love more than anything else.
Absolutely. And finally, what can we expect from VANT in the future? Have we got any new releases coming? I know the album was only sent out last month, but what can we expect for VANT in the rest of 2017?
Well, we did be doing a lot of festivals in the summer and touring as much as we can, travelling to new parts of the world that we've never been to before, and just writing new material and working towards the second record as well. As you say, the first one's just come out, but I think we want to keep busy and try and not leave it too long before we put new material out. So yeah, it's just an exciting time. Kind of got to enjoy the journey as well and not really look too far into the future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Matty. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to see you at Truckfest in the summer. I'm really, really excited about that. But thank you very much for doing this interview.
All right, man. See you later. Hi, this is Matty from VANT, and you're listening to Raw 1251 AM.